Wonderful. How are we doing?
Hello, how are
Very
you?
good. Thriving. How you doing?
Good.
Are we gonna have any more guest appearances?
Any more what?
Any more guest appearances?
No, I don't think so.
Wonderful. So before we get started today, does anyone have any questions that need answering?
I
I
have
was
one.
wondering about, so that I was studying the 25 laws of sales, and there was the Socratic questioning point, and
Yeah.
the video is kind of a teaser. So I was wondering if you could go into some detail about that.
On Socratic questioning.
Yeah, I understood what it is, but not really exactly how to implement it.
Socratic questioning is all. Give me 2 seconds. I don't want to butcher this. Let me just get this out. Now, Socratic questioning is the utilization. Now, I don't want to say my viewpoint, but this is how I'm training it, right? So it's all about looking into someone's why, their why, and adjusting their why, how they view the world, right? And the whole premise is being able to do this. Okay, so I did this with a vegan, right? But now I was doing something else. Like my goal was I needed him to tell me that he wasn't vegan. Like that was my whole goal, right? And I said in the beginning of the on the beginning of it, I said, cool, I'm gonna get this retard to admit to me that as a vegan, he can eat eggs. Now, believe it or not, as a vegan, I'm pretty sure you can't eat eggs, right? But then I said, cool, he's going to eat eggs. Now, if I was to tell, now this guy was a very stubborn motherfucker, very stubborn, yes? And if I was to tell him straight up that he can eat eggs, he would not have said to me that he would argue, he said, fuck no, right? So then I had to go the long way through Socratic questioning, the asking of why, the looking into his beliefs and guiding it to get him to the conclusion that he can eat eggs. I was very happy. He was so confused at the end of our conversation why I was so happy about him eating eggs. And then I said to him, because I wanted you to say that. Then we went back and forth on who decided it, right? But it's going into someone's head through the questioning of why, through looking into their beliefs. Yes. And another one, I'll bring it up. I do it to Christians a lot. It's fun, right? So it's all about getting someone to have the point of view that you want them to. Now, that this isn't Socratic questioning, it's how you can utilize Socratic questioning to get something, right? Like Socratic questioning fundamentally is like looking deep into reasons, but then it's utilizing it to get what you want, right? Now,
Yeah,
anybody here a religious Christian? Wonderful. Karen. Oh, JB. I'm not too confident on the JB thing, but yeah. So there was a time where in London, there's a place called Marble's Arch, right? It's a park. But in one specific park or part of the park, all the religious people go to debate there. Anyone who studied religion in university, all the like hyper academics, they go there. Now, I am not an academic on my religion, which is Islam. So if I go up against an academic, Islam versus Christianity, do you think I'm going to win? No. And realistically, I won't win. I won't stand a chance, right? So I want the Christians to go doubt themselves. So first point is I do not make it a battle. This is my whole focus, Christianity. And what I do is I question them and I question and I question them, but in a good way, right? So let's say it's Karen and myself, right? I'm going to tell her that I'm curious about Christianity and I'd like to learn some more. Karen, being a good Christian, is going to be like, oh, super excited. I'd love to tell you all about Christianity. Yes. And then we're going to speak about Christianity, and we're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper, right? By the end of it, Karen's going to give me, let's say we've spoken on 5 topics of Christianity, right? Let's say, as an example, just for the ease, we've spoken about Mary, Jesus, Abraham, Trinity, and church, just as an example. With this, I have gotten Karen to tell me everything she knows. And the sad fact is, whether she likes it or not, there will be contradictions because she's never mood. She's just telling me loads of things. And I am positively curious about all of it. Every Christian that I've done this to has honestly thought I'm going to become a Christian. They've been really excited as they keep telling me more and more and more. And I go deeper and deeper and deeper. And then at one point, by accident, and granted, I'm very good at listening and like deducing based off what people speak or making deductions based off speech. Karen's going to contradict herself. And I'm going to be confused. I'm going to be like, but Karen, you tell me about Jesus and how he is God and isn't God and the Trinity, and go further and further and further. And then at one point, you get hit with now this is the Christian rebuttal to everything. You gotta believe, right? This is typically where they leave me on. They just tell me that I have to believe. Yes. But through all of this talks and going further and further into questioning, right? I have put the seed of doubt into Karen. Now, whether or not she follows, like looks into it or not the point. Yes. But she's gone way deeper than what she has ever gone before when explaining all these different topics. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
And then I'm taking her all the way to the end to say, but you haven't convinced me because this doesn't make sense. And I'm saying this in a really nice, sweet, innocent voice. All right. And it'll get to the point where Karen even starts to doubt what she's saying. Because I'm logical. She gets my points on why I'm confused. And through Socratic questioning, I have now confused her beliefs. Does this make sense?
So basically, you just question them on a topic that's relevant,
You,
right?
you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah, okay. So I do this sometimes, but not intentionally, I guess. So you basically just make them talk so much about a topic, then you basically wait until there is a contradiction, and then you ask about the contradiction almost in a
That,
confused way, right?
yes, yes,
Okay.
right? And now, granted, you can't go. So there are specific. So I will use this specifically on certain types of sales calls. Yes. So when I can tell that a prospect has a bad relationship with money, wonderful. We need to go. We're having a full therapy Socratic questioning session on how they see money and how they see themselves, so on and so forth, so on and so forth, in order for me to close. Right? We're going to go deep into their why, their existence, their goals. And yes, they don't want to spend money, but they now, after a long conversation of them, like I'm guiding their speaking to get to the conclusion that they need to spend money in order to make money. And they've now internalized it. I've got it to the point where it's internalized in them. What they thought previously now doesn't work with what they want, and they understand that they have to adjust. Right? And you do that through Socratic questioning.
I'm just curious, how do we determine if they had a bad relationship with money? Like, what would qualify for that?
I will spot it in very specific words, right? It's anytime they discuss money, I'm looking at 1 or 2 words from a sentence. Because the fact is, let's say I'm looking to invest. That is one way to say a sentence out of 1,000 ways to say a sentence. The reason why someone is looking to invest is they're looking to grow. Now, this sentence here can be changed 1,000 ways based on this one result here. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Then depending on how they say these words right? One good example, or one thing that would trigger me, is when someone says they're looking to find someone to partner with, right? 9 times out of 10, when I hear someone say to me, I'm looking to partner up with some people, right? Or collaborate. Like collaborate, yeah, 100%. I love fucking Pooh Bell, therefore. Right? Because when it comes to partnership or collaboration, even, it's way more let's all work together to get an end goal. Right? A lot less, I need you guys to go do this work for me, for my business.
Yeah.
Right? Now that's a more obvious one, but you have to look out for subtleties to see whether like you have to look out for subtleties. Now, on the basis that you have sales calls to review, the more sales calls that you see happening, the more you'll notice all of this.
Got
All right,
it.
but it'll be in one sentence or even the way they say a word. Right? And then I'll spend a lot of time on that. Another one is when I need to break up relationships. So I've destroyed business partnerships where the two twats are working together. They should not be working together. I want them both as separate clients. I don't. It's a new business. They don't need to be together. Right? In that circumstance, I use Socratic questioning because I need to end the relationship.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I would say I've got about what, 75% success rate on that. That if I'm advising two people to separate, they'll separate. All right. So it's stuff like that where you recognize that in order for you to close, right, or to maximize the success from the work that's going to happen, they need to change how they see the world. And you utilize Socratic questioning. You spend a long time seeing how they see things and readjusting how they see things so that their beliefs are different. Right? I'll use an example of this. JB, what type of Christian are you? Oh, I bet you're one of those random ones that like aren't associated to anything. Okay, let's go. Karen, what type of Christian are you?
Orthodox.
Ah, one of the stronger ones, more respectable ones. Cool. So, with Karen being someone who's Orthodox, she has certain beliefs and parameters that she will just follow because she's Orthodox Christian. Correct, Karen?
Certainly, yeah.
Now, let's imagine I need Karen to do a bunch of shit for me, and it's much better if she's Muslim. So, let's go in, see what she believes, so on and so forth, so on and so forth, rip it apart, replace it with Islam, and then all of a sudden she's way more inclined to do that which I need. Now, granted, the example I gave was retarded, but you guys understand why I make that example.
Is it a long-term game? Because it's not that easy to change the mind of a person just in one conversation.
Now, are we talking about sales or are we talking about outside sales?
Let's talk about both sales and outside.
In sales, you don't need to do anything that long term. You're closing a deal and making sure that they're there for like the next few months with a good mind frame. Not that difficult. All right. When it comes to long term, you're gonna need to keep topping back up the Socratic questioning every once in a while as they, realign to the Socratic questioning. Let's bring you back to where we need you. Yeah. But then I would also argue outside of sales, do not try that hard to do it. Simply because people are genuinely useless. And there's no point trying to attempt to make someone useful. If they're useless, more often than not, there's a reason that they're useless. And you're likely fighting a losing battle. Alex, does this answer Socratic questioning? The
Yeah.
question that you
Am I correct to assume that the sales calls where you can't do Socratic questioning, it's like a stubbornness level, right? So when it's a person it's too stubborn, like an intellectual buyer, for example, then you can't really use it as well.
You have to understand, you don't. So let's imagine there's a call, right? And on that call, everything is going nice and easy. There is no reason for me to deflect. So I won't deflect. Right? If there is no need for Socratic questioning or to realign how they see the world, don't realign it. Right? The likelihood of you changing the viewpoints of an intellectual buyer are much lower than a normal buyer. And that's more often than not because you don't need to. Like, can you give me an example of when you would need to?
Well, if you look, for example, 2 days ago, no, 3 days ago, I had a sales call. I managed to convince, because he's like a beginner level financial planner, I managed to convince him that he needs to move his ass. Like he was almost depressed. He was telling me about he was
That's
basically showing me his bank account.
that's negative report. Yeah, go ahead.
But then later on, he basically started working with a LinkedIn manager dude, something like this, to whom he pays like 500 a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like that's BS. He basically does automated LinkedIn for him and what he called feedback, as in gives him tips, whatnot.
Yeah.
Basically does nothing. And then but he was like, oh, I just started with him. I want to see if this leads anywhere, etc., etc. So there I didn't manage to convince him to basically stop paying that guy and pay me instead. Even though until that point, like he was basically at some point showing me, basically telling me exactly how much he makes and telling me his fucking family expenses and apologizing that he can't, that he doesn't have money. So I figured it would be easy. But then when it came to that, I couldn't convince him to stop working with the guy, you know?
But then, okay, with something like that, how long have they been working together for?
Oh, there was a sales call. Oh, they've
No,
been
no,
working together from basically like a week or two. That's why because he already paid them, so he wanted to see if there is results.
There's not much you can do when there hasn't been enough time to get results.
Right. Okay.
Like, yes, I would, from my point of view, I would find it easier to get him into debt than to stop working with the other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I told him I'll contact him again in a month when he sees that the results of the guy are shit. Basically.
Yes, but you also have to be careful to not see with Socratic questioning, it's not with Socratic questioning, you would never tell him that the results are shit or that the other person is shit. He needs to say it. He needs to come to the conclusion. So, like the way you walk this, like I say walk this as though you're walking a dog, right? We have LinkedIn, get him to walk through, all goes well, results. But he's guiding all of it. He's going through all the variables over speaking. Then us, results. Because he has done all of the speaking, he is the one who got to the results part. And on the basis that our results are better than his results, then you can use that as an argument. But I'd much rather just get him to get a loan off somebody else or just find other money to pay me. I would find that easier. Because 2 weeks, not much you can do. Yeah.
I see.
Like you can get him to get a refund, but even that is a pain. The only one thing I would do is I would say that we can do the LinkedIn stuff. I'm not saying that I would do that, but that would be a route I would go even before trying to get him to stop. I would basically break down how that guy does everything and say, we'll do it. Like we'll add that on top because it's super easy, which is just basically undermining the LinkedIn guy and saying that he's overpaying for shit he shouldn't be paying for.
It's fair.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions on this? No. Wonderful. Alex, you have more clarity?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Wonderful.
Can I ask one more thing about the sales call since I mentioned it? Basically, one of his arguments on top of the fact that, oh, he got a good relationship with the guy now and he wants to keep working with him. One more argument he said is that with LinkedIn stuff, he's tried it himself, so he's seen that it can work. Well, our service is a bit more unique and he hasn't seen it in practice, so he's not sure. you know, even though I told him like maybe I fucked up
What?
somewhere in the presentation, but I've told him that it's all data-based, like the results are data-based. He understood
Yeah.
why it should work, but he feels more comfortable doing something he's already done.
And what results did that get him previously?
Shit results.
That's
Basically.
where you're sticking to your comforts, but understand your comforts are where you're at. You're sticking to what you've done before, which didn't work. And for some reason, you're like, yeah, I saw one thing happen. Like, do you actually want to succeed? And then you go down the negative report part and basically make him feel like shit.
Okay.
Like, you have to get him to, it's along the lines of, do you believe that if you'd known more or spent more time, you would have bumped into something similar to what we do? He says, yes. And then you go down that route of, you're useless. If you had done more, you would have bumped into this, but you didn't. You went for the minimalistic approach, the easy approach, and I would just rip him apart on how he's a lazy shit.
Mm.
And if he wants to like, stay lazy, he'll actually get results.
In those later stages of the call, I almost felt bad because we had like almost 2 hours. Call was supposed to be like 30 minutes.
Good. That's
And
good.
before that, like the whole bank account stuff was like him, he was already basically depressed. So then when we were
Good.
talking about him being like, man, look, I generally have to pay for this much, I make this much. I really can't. And then I was convincing him to like it felt like I was almost over the negative report stage. So maybe I should have just gone back and keep making him
Yeah.
feel bad
Go
about it.
back. Go back. Go back. Like press on that. Like press even more. Like
I was trying to do your buy or die thing. Ended
no,
up fucking his
yeah.
brain for 2 hours.
Welcome to BioDie. Very good. Yes. But okay, you did BioDie. Very good. Do you see how you'll have a high success rate with BioDie?
I mean, I didn't close him, but when he was like breaking down, it did feel like I'm doing the right thing. If that makes sense. I was like, okay,
Yes.
this is kind of where I'm supposed to be. I felt, you know.
One, so there's so many piece of shit like buzz terms that you can use that are really powerful, right? A financial plan. How old was he?
34.
Cool. You hit them with a, can I ask you a question? He says yes. When you were in your 20s, did you think you'd be where you're at right now at 34? And he's gonna be no. How does that make you feel? And you go down that fucking rabbit hole of just pain, 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 pain. Like negative report, there are genuine buzz terms that you could use like rinse and repeat anytime you're doing negative report. And the worse the worse it feels coming out of your mouth, the more effective it will be.
Hmm. I see.
All right. Like you're 34 doing LinkedIn, hoping that's gonna change your life. Because all you can do is afford LinkedIn. And you like it sounds shit, but you stick on that and you go down that road. Yeah. Wonderful. Before we get started, I'd like everyone to take a minute. Give me something equal or worse to the example I just gave on how to make someone feel like shit. What is a solid sentence that you can use? You can make up the case for the prospect. I don't mind that. But give me something good. Fucking loud chat. Squeeze balls. Whenever you're ready, just speak. Whoever's ready first. Okay. Adil,
It's across. Just a second.
did you say it's across the sand?
I said I'm in the process of thinking.
Okay, fine. Dio,
I think as well.
the Grand Buffet.
Same prospect, same scenario, except the prospect perhaps mentioned something about having a spouse of some sort that's not entirely happy about this situation. Then I would have perhaps said something along, if your wife knew you were going to be in the situation that you are now in, do you think she would have still chosen you back then?
Oh, holy shit, man.
Yeah, that's
Pulling the
solid
big
one.
guns.
Placement has to be done well on that one, but yes, very good one. Karen,
I would have probably asked him, when was your last vacation when you didn't have to think about any financial problems?
no, that's just like making someone feel good. You're talking about vacations.
To go like to dig a little bit deeper into the point, or you can ask something like, would you would you have thought that your children would not be able to go on a vacation with you because you cannot afford it?
See, you use that as an example. I've said to people, do you think your son is proud of you? Or proud to call you his father? Which one's worse?
Okay, I see.
I
Right?
got an
And yeah, Adil?
I got an example of if a prospect has a son who goes to the college soon, the question
Mhm.
would be, how do you feel about your son not going to college, not going to university?
Mm.
For some parents, very important. At least what I think.
All things considered and your situation considered, do you believe your son sees you as a role model? Or another more useful, if your son was in the exact same position as you are in now, would you tell him, big picture, it's worth it, putting down 2,000 to change everything, or be scared and not spend the money? Now I would articulate that better, but then that's negative report done to a high, like I've made numerous people cry on a call with me. Like they just cry and I'm like, fuck's sake. Yeah. And then you just make them cry a little bit more, make them feel good, then a little bit more. Just keep pressing. Yes. And the interesting thing is when you do it correctly, they will catch you off guard. You will not be expecting them to cry. But all of a sudden, you are the straw on the camel's back that basically they'll be like, can you give me 1 second? Yes. Don't give them 1 second. Push. Add the pressure. Add the pain. Make them cry. All right.
I said something, I mean, after a sales call, maybe after asking what their goals are, right? Like long term. Something along the lines of, do you realize that your actions seem your goal sound like a delusion or some shit like this? Or is that too
No,
as an
that's fine. You can say that sentence. How do you articulate it? Right? Rather than saying delusion, is it realistic? And then you back that one up with, so why are you lying to yourself? Right? Because calling someone delusional can be seen as offensive. Asking them, but so why are you lying to yourself? Right? And then with this type of stuff, silence is key. You make a bold statement, you shut the fuck up, and you wait patiently for their response. Right? So now let's go, as that was what was provided to us today by the magical wheel. So all of you are shit at maths. Right? Maybe one of you isn't, but I'm pretty sure all of you are shit at maths. Like the only person I have hope for is Adil or Karen, but I'm probably wrong. Right? When it comes to negotiation, we're looking at the math sides of things. You need to understand variables plus changes. And you need to be honest. Honest. Right? As an example, right? Let's use Dio as my example. Dio, he understands that I am not okay with anything lower than a 1K close for him. Right? However, Dio is not only 15, but he also lives in Bulgaria, where the average monthly wage is $50. It's not, but I'm being taking the piss a little bit. But then Dio, in circumstances, needs to be honest with himself, right? Because $1,000 will do a lot more for him in Bulgaria than it will do for me in Dubai. What he can do with $1,000, there is no fucking comparison. Yes? Or let's say comparing to someone in America. So you have to be honest and recognize, for the bulk of you, that you are the employee in your business. There's no one really else working in the business, right? So what do you need? And you need to take that into your considerations, right? And that there needs to be your bottom, right? But now, obviously, if your bottom is fucking 250 or something stupid, like it can't undermine your work and the results that you're going to get. Then at the top end, right? What is the max that a consumer would pay for it? And this is based on ROI. Based on everything going well, how much money will you make them? What is the maximum that they will pay for that service? Yes. Now, for the sake of this, I mean, there's so many niches that we can look into and so many services we can look into. Let's just say that we're looking at 5,000 is the max and 500 is the minimum, right? Is the max, is the minimum. All right, so we're looking at this and this. So I now understand my ranges. Then the next thing I need to look at is, and this is outside of a sales school, is how can I get paid? What are my options? I can do setup fee. Don't know why I did that. Set up fee. I can do retainer. I can do pay per appointment. I can do pay per close, right? So these are my 4 variables. And the fact is, I can mix all of these variables up together. I can have a setup fee plus a retainer plus a pay per close. I can do a setup fee plus a pay per appointment plus a pay per close, right? I can do a setup fee plus pay per close. All of this is making sense, right? To you guys. So the question is, with this being the breakdown and these being the options, have you guys looked at everything you are and are not willing to accept? Right? Let's say that we do pay per appointment. We can mix pay per appointment with a setup fee as an example. So we could tell them that the setup fee is 5,000, right? And that's going to pay for the first 100 appointments or 100 leads, all of which are $50 per lead. And then after that, we're going to move it over to pay per lead or pay in batches, where once they've received 100 leads or 100 appointments, we're going to sell them $50 appointments in batches of 20. So they have to pay 1K each time, right? So these are all of the different variables that we need to understand and have written out, right? Now, obviously with experience, so me, myself, I will never do this because I know all of the variables and all of the changes. So I can quickly do maths in my head and know, cool, I'm making money or I'm not making money, right? So now we have the context of what is the max that we can charge? What is the minimum that we can charge? What are the different ways that we can charge? We can then look at this and see anything outside of this box here, right? Where the structure, right, does not match this structure, then I will not accept it. Now, another thing that is not acceptable is only paper close, right? You can then say to me, but Ishmael, I've done the maths that if I do my work very well, yes, I will get 5,000. Wonderful. You can do everything perfectly, but your client is more often than not a fucking retard. Yes? So, how do I say this without sounding rude? 80% to 85% of business people that I meet, yes, and these are qualified business people who have made money before, are retarded. Yes? If you gave someone who is at the top level 100 leads, right? Someone at the bottom level 100 leads. Is there going to be a difference in outcome?
For sure.
Right?
Should be.
Then based on that, we want to stay the fuck away from paper close. And then even people at the top 1%, I also don't like giving them paper close. I do not like fuck no. But now the question is this one, why would you not give the best paper close? Because they are busy, because they have systems, and because they have expectations. Someone who is most likely at the top of the 1%, they are used to a very high close rate because they are referral based. They've been in the game for a very long time. They get referrals. Referrals are much easier to close than leads that don't know anything about their business, right? So I need to make sure this is never offered by itself, right? No matter what. And now the next thing is, and this is the next fun thing, which requires competence. I am now on the sales school, right? Yeah, cool. I am on the sales school. And my decision is I need to figure out on the sales school from all these numbers, right? Where the fuck is my prospect? What is their bank balance? How much are they willing to pay for my shit? Yes. Now, let's say that I want 5,000. One of the easiest ways to get 5,000, obviously, it's a setup fee. Collect it. Let's assume that they can't collect it, right? Let's say I'm speaking to Alex, right? So me and Alex are going back and forth. I want my 5,000. Yes, I now understand that I have to break down my 5,000 something with this. I can get my money. The fact is, Alex will have differences of opinion to retainer, paper appointment, paper close. Yes, and setup fee. He'll have differences on all of them. Now, let's imagine, obviously, he wants a fucking paper close. That's not happening. I either need to clarify that, or I need to, with Socratic questioning, I can get Alex to agree that he doesn't want paper close. Yes, all I have to do is adjust how he sees it and get him to understand that we need positive reinforcement. And if we don't get positive reinforcement and we're waiting for deals to close from his side, there's a high chance we won't do as much work or put in as much detail. So what does he want? Does he want low quality and a lot just being thrown at him and we don't care because he's not closing because of market A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Or does he want someone who cares? Is he looking for quantity or quality? Now, I've just surmised it into one small point. But then with the whole conversation, I can get him to steer away. Let's say 80% of the time, I can get him to successfully steer away from just this. But then let's look at this. Let's say I want 5K. Cool. So 2K setup fee. After that, let's split the first anywhere from 50 or 20 appointments to 50 appointments. Depending on the niche, depending on the prospect, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on a pay per appointment model, pay per appointment, per appointment. And just to make my life easier, I want a $500 retainer. Because this is a very low retainer. He's going to pay a price above. So let's say it's 2.5 divided by 20 or 2.5 divided by 50, right? That will tell me how many, that will tell me the price per each one, right? So in this case, it would be $50 or $50 per appointment. And over here, I believe would be like 110 give or take. Yes. And through this maths breakdown, I've collected my money. And in a position, he feels a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident. And I get my money. But you need to know all of the variables, all of the adjustments that you can make on a call, right? And who here didn't like algebra in school?
Oh.
Not who doesn't currently not like algebra. I did use it in the past tense, not the fucking present tense, but good to know. Yes. At the end of the day, it is algebra, right? I remember I was speaking to Ernest about this, right? Because Ernest, like, Dio has done more school education than Ernest has done in his life. Yes. So he's like, Ismael, but tell me this. What is algebra? Yeah, because fucker's never done it before. And I said to him, you do it every day. Like he does algebra every day in business, right? Because we're looking at setup fee, pay per appointment, pay per close. Yes. A plus B plus C equals D. But the fact is, pay per close is based on a ratio. It's one, as in there will be a close 1 out of X that needs to be calculated or assumed, right? You need good calculations on this one. Then based on what you expect this to be, you would then price your pay per appointment, and then you have your setup fee. All right. Now, obviously, if you make B 2 times as much, you need to make C half as much, right? Or the complete opposite. If your setup fee is higher or lower, everything needs to adjust, and it's simple algebra that you need to do in your head, right? Because the fact is, if you want money, right? Right? If you want to get whatever target you want, you have to be good at maths. And now one thing is, the more clients you guys will get, right? After let's say 50, let's say 50 clients. After you guys have just got 50 clients, I'm not saying at one time, but you've gone through 50 clients. I'm using that number slightly arbitrarily. You will then have an understanding of what is the average order value. Now, I'm stealing this from fucking ecom. Yes. But the fact is, when someone comes to work with you, on average, what is X? And then your goal is cool. I can get X. What is the easiest way for me to get X? Now, putting it simply, right? Let's say you have a shit service, right? You know you have a shit service. You don't care about service delivery. You're not doing well for your clients, and you know this, right? Then you may be inclined. I only do setup fee because you're not getting a fucking penny after the fucking setup fee. Yeah, that's because you're a lazy shit. But then let's say that you know that it's really high quality, you know what you're doing, you know how to guide your clients, which is key, guiding your clients through success, which is very, very fucking important. Then you're like, cool. Let me say, scrap the fucking setup fee. Let me put in a retainer, pay per appointment, and pay per close. Right? And then it's all about doing maths in order to get your desired average order value from a client. Right? But then now this is also calculated differently. This is for different parts of the business. This is much more for cost per acquisition, which is how much it costs for you to get a client. As an example, if a client, if the average order value from a client is 2,000, you can pay an appointment setter X to bring you Y amount of appointments, because you know that you're going to close 30% of Y, and that's going to cost you $500. But you know $500 is going to bring you $2,000, and then you've got a printing machine. All right, but then that's just another way. That's a different type of negotiation. That's more on this side. I mean, more on the acquisition side of the business rather than sales and clients. But then the better your maths is, the better that your maths is, or the better understanding you have on maths, the easier this will be. And the fact is, all of this can be put into a fucking spreadsheet. Right? So as an example, let's just say, be honest with yourself, right? Alex, you live in Hungary, right?
Netherlands, Luxembourg.
Luxembourg.
Yeah.
Luxembourg's expensive, no?
Yeah.
Wonderful. But not many fucking people live in Luxembourg.
It's funny as fuck, yeah.
Alex says, cool, I need 2,000 per client. Cool. So we have 2,000 as the option there. If Alex is bad at maths, all he has to do is, so set up fee, retainer, paper appointment, paper close. Let's just put it as these four, right? And he just has to do all of his maths here. Now, obviously, we have the ideal situation. So on and so forth, so on and so forth. Right? But now this part here that we're calculating, one thing that is important to note, right, is I'm only showing you the calculations for the close, because a lot of you guys are just closing or getting your first few deals now, right? But then as your business goes on further, right, you'll know that from one customer, I need $10,000, right? I need $10,000 from a customer. And honestly, if you get one customer who pays you 10,000, you're in a good position. Now, obviously, this is relative to what you want in life. But then over here, I know that if, so let's just do some maths. Let's say you get $500 monthly. All right. So that's going to be, what the fuck is that? 3,000? No, 6. So you know that you're going to get 6K off of here. Right? At the end of the year, I'm going to get 6,000 here. I've got 2,000 as a setup fee. That's 8,000. So let me just divide how many appointments I think I'm going to get. On average, let's say I'm getting 10 appointments per month. So that's 120 appointments per year. I'll divide the remaining 2,000 by 120 appointments. And then I've got a great price. I know I'm going to collect 10K off this client because I'm going to do a 2,000 followed by a 500 retainer, which is a low-end retainer, and a really attractive price per appointment, which would be, yeah, 2,000 divided by 120, $16 per appointment. Yes. And then at this point, you're doing you're not so much higher level maths, you're doing higher level business because you're looking at the whole aspect of the business because your goal isn't to make money off one client, it's to make money off many clients. But the fact is, like, I can't be telling you guys about many clients because your first goal needs to be the first few clients. And that's how you have to see it. And then your site adjusts with time. Yes, but all of this can be pre-calculated and just do maths. So this is what I did when I was in your guys' stages. Now, granted, you don't have to do this because I've given you a guide on how to do it. Is I understood that I understood nothing, right? So I knew fucking nothing. So I said, cool. I opened up a notepad and I just did maths. I just calculated so many variables. If this is this, I had no idea what I was doing. But I actively knew I didn't know what I was looking for. So I said, fuck it. Let me just do loads of maths until I get to a point that I'm like, oh, that's what I want. Because I didn't know what I wanted. Didn't know how to get there. So I said, fuck it. Let me run all the variables. Any variable that I can potentially see in my brain, let me do it. And there's just pages on pages on pages of maths and maths and maths and maths. Right? And it's not that difficult. It requires common sense and a calculator. I actually, that's not true. Fucking ChatGPT. Actually, if you were to word it correctly, you could slap this in ChatGPT and have all the variables for the business and all the different prices. Put that on a fucking Excel sheet. Done. No maths is actually required now. Do you guys understand how you would phrase that into ChatGPT? Wonderful.
That would require knowing the lifetime value, doesn't it?
So you would put something on ChatGPT, so you can either put it based on 12 months or 3 months. My goal is to collect this much from a client on a sales call. These are all the different payment methods that I can do. I need it to be realistic, considering that this is the price points of what will be achieved from one deal that goes through. I break down how I get deals and what my business model is to ChatGPT. I then tell it that the 4 different payment methods that I'm happy to accept. And then I say, give me all my maths. But you have to over explain this to ChatGPT. Like you have to give every info you can to ChatGPT, and then it will give you very good answers.
Can I ask you? Can I give you a case study and you tell me what I should do?
Go for it.
I had this deal with a fintech firm that basically does signals on charts, but for hedge funds, etc. So it's like very high ticket. And I had this PPC close deal with him, basically. It was shit. I did it for a month or two, kind of. And then I was like, I got him a few calls, he closed nothing. Then I was like, look, if you're gonna be willing to pay me a retainer, maybe we can revisit. But I have better shit to do, roughly.
So
It's been some months. What if I, let's say, go back to him, right? And I like, yeah, like let's have a call, whatever. I'm on good terms with him still.
So I have a few universal principles that are not based, that they're based just on how I see the universe, right? There is no proof to it. It's just like it's laws, like it's my laws of physics, right? And this is one of them, which is a point that you brought up. Yes. So let's compare, just for the ease of understanding for everybody, let's compare gym to real estate. Yes. On the high end of real estate, let's say you're looking at Toronto, right? You're looking at 20,000, rough average, 20,000 is what they get per deal. Yes, per client. How much does the gym charge?
20 to 50.
Okay, let's say $50. Based on this logic, right? Is it easier for me to get people in the gym or easier to get them in real estate?
Gym.
There we go. So I know that from 1,000 people, I'm going to get a lot more fuckers here than I am here. Now, how much am I getting paid? Yes, so I look at how much I'm getting paid from each deal, right? Let's say it's pay per close, right? Let's say, for ease of fucking maths, let's say I get 10% of this over here, and let's say I get 10% over there, right? Now, 10% over here, what, that's 2K? So we're looking at 2K, and then from the gyms, we're looking at $5, right? Now, then I need to ask myself, what's easier, right? Me to get, is that 400 clients? Yeah. Is it easier for me to get 400 people into a gym, or is it easier for me to get one deal into this? Now, you may argue, Ishmael, it's way easier to get a deal into this, but then we have to look at other variables, right? Let's say that to get this 2K, I need to send 100 people. It's much easier for me to send 100 people than it is for me to send however fucking many, let's say 600 people, right? So you're like, it's way easier. But then I need to look at the niche. Cool, real estate. Is this real estate agent really going to speak to 100 people? Yes, show them houses, do this, lawyers, blah, blah, the whole fucking process, get to know everybody when the life cycle is what, 3 months, 2 months, 4 months. Are they going to do that with 100 people? Is that realistic? Or are they going to tell me after 20, this isn't working, go fuck yourself? Then to that logic, it would have been wiser for me to go here. Yeah, it's a little bit more work, but it's a lot more realistic and consistent. Yes, because this over here is based on the real estate agent, and most real estate agents are shit. So then we have to look at fintech. Yeah, I tell people, stay away from these fucking people. Not because they're bad, but because the deal size is so big. Like these deals, like what was the commission that you'd receive from one deal?
So their memberships is between 2.5 and 7.5K. So let's do 5K. And I would get 20% for a year and another 10% for another year if they pay the membership. As long as they pay the membership.
But now then we have to look at what percentage of the population can you go for this. Then we need to look at the closing rate. Then we have to look at methods of acquisition. Then we have to look at the qualifying aspect. Then we have to look at how many people will you send that they will close and how much you will get paid, so on and so forth, and when you'll get paid. When there's an argument, if you took a similar deal with a fucking gym or a med spa, right? Cool. This is solid money. But which one is money quicker? Right? Let's say you do pay per conversion. Are you getting paid quicker in a med spa or with these fuckers?
Med spa, yeah, but also way less.
Okay, perfectly fine. But now there's a difference. I have cash. And cash changes everything. Cool. They're going to pay me really good money consistently. But if I'm able to slap a few clients with MedSpa, make money quickly, all of a sudden, I've got money for ads. Yeah. And then if we look at, let's say this is growth, this is time. Yes, you'll have a bigger spike when this one kicks in, but you'll have a quicker spike when this one kicks in. And then, like, how does the growth work? Right? Because then you're looking at, let's say this versus this. You get my point?
Yep.
Now, granted, I'm not going into the nitty gritty because it's all dependent on deals, niches, structures, sales calls, like how many can you book, so on and so forth. Yes, and you also don't want to undervalue yourself. That's not the point of all of this. But you have to look at all the variables, and that's why I say stay away from these fuckers. Like, it's a high.
So I should just forget them and just do my like keep doing my shit.
Then there's another argument, right? Which is, where the fuck was this? Yeah. Being honest. Yes. Because you know your circumstances a lot better than I know my circumstances. And I could tell you, do not close the deal for 250. It's fucking retarded. The 250 retainer, but you know how much ease that 250 retainer could do for you. If you're living in fucking Bulgaria, you're contributing a good chunk to rent. Make sense?
Yeah.
You have to look at your circumstances.
Fair enough.
Wonderful. As we finish up, yeah, final questions?
One question about the mindset while learning the course.
So mindset what?
So when I cover the course, I face the problem that I take too many notes. So I think that there is so many good ideas that I don't want to catch, and eventually I end up with hundreds of notes that are unapplicable. They're just theory, and I spend too much time on that. Or if I don't make notes, I just feel shit after watching the video, like I just wasted my time and didn't learn anything.
Do you read your notes?
Yeah, from time to time.
Wonderful. Do you use them?
Some of them, because most of them are just concepts, you cannot use them.
Okay. I would say so. This happened to me in school a very, very long time ago, right? The teacher would tell us, highlight what's important. I said, cool, do this smart thing. I ended up highlighting everything. So the whole page was fucking colored in because all of it was important in my fucking brain. Right? And then there was this very cute girl in my class. Her name was Elle. Yes, very, very cute. Yeah, she was good at school. I wasn't. The teacher gave me her book to look at notes. And she was doing way better than me in school. And she highlighted, 2 to 3 words. And I looked at mine, which is all colored in, and hers was like, but all of this is important. But you have to understand what is important and what isn't. And with that, you have to ask yourself, what will move the ball forward? What can I use? What can I actually use that will get me closer to cash? Yes, I'll give an example. I was on a call with someone recently, and they said, Ishmael, how's your day going? I said, yeah, it's a fucking interesting day. And they're like, why? I said, because I haven't done much at all today. But everything I did was like big pushes. Like it was all very fucking menial tasks, but every menial task that I did, and it wasn't many, had a very big impact on everything else.
Sorry, bro, I gotta jump on the call with Ernest. Thank you for your time. I'll see you tomorrow. Sorry to interrupt.
That's fine.
All right.
Did he call me Ernest? I feel like he called me Ernest.
Yeah, he did.
I think he said I'm going on a call with Ernest, something like that.
Maybe. That would make sense. So I would argue stopped making notes.
Mhm.
You have?
I remember I think it was your advice about books.
Mm-hmm.
You said that all you need from a book is 2 sentences.
Yes.
And that really helped me. Like last month, I finished 3 books. Like I almost did 4.
Okay.
It was way more than I do usually. But with courses, they're much more applicable. You teach, I can implement them. So I feel guilt if I do not write them down.
Oh, no, okay, cool. Then I would say do this to your notes, right? Adjust it. Take down the notes and write down how you will use it. If you cannot
Mhm.
write how you will use it, you don't need it as notes. Like, where will you use it? Not in theory. Where are you literally going to use this? What will you do with this bit of information? Right? Let's say, as an example, there's a bit on AI, or let's say it's Zapier, right? You're taking notes on Zapier. Where will you use this? I will practice. I will practice making this workflow with these notes. And then go practice the workflow with the notes, making the notes useful. And if you can't have, if there is no literal application for it, do like ignore it.
So not just write down the note, but also highlight how you're going to use and then go immediately and use it.
Yes. Doesn't have to be immediately. As an example, if you've got a sales call, that takes fucking priority over notes. Like rank the importance. But then I wouldn't care about anything that is not 2 steps away from changing self. Like
Mhm.
even in the work that I do, like if the work does not immediately or get me very, if it is not the closest point at time to cash, I will not do it. And it won't be done. And lo and behold, the business will still run.
I remember it also happened to me with a book. So it was Morgan, JP Morgan, about his history. And it was lots of interesting information, but very high level. So I was making notes and I was like, I cannot implement that right now. So I
I
shouldn't.
I
Mhm.
myself have never taken an appeal to people's fucking biographies. Yes, like because what the fuck am I gonna do with it? Because there's so much stuff that is missing that is actually useful.
Okay, makes sense.
Like I'm sure some of them are good. And I say that I haven't really read any. But yeah, if you cannot do anything with it directly, it is useless.
Are you a fan of rereading books?
Huh?
Do you reread books? Like you read book in one step of your journey, then you come back later in the future to catch new things that you wasn't able to implement then.
No, I will not. I will not reread a book. There is only one book to date I'm willing to reread, and that is The Science to Getting Rich. Yeah, that would be the only book that I would reread for that purpose. Wonderful. Any final questions? Cool. Hakuna Matata. I'll see you guys all tomorrow.